to let you know that today is a lot of jugaad day for us. What I did was I brought the tripod but forgot to bring the phone's holder on it. And so Aditi is going to help me do that. And because I had only two microphone that goes to this one, I have jugaaded, this one so that I can pass this around. I am Veda. Most of you know me. I have, spoken to you over WhatsApp. I have messaged you and all of that. And I hope you know Dr. Meghna as well, the therapist mommy. Dr. Meghna has 15 plus years of experience practicing counseling in India, but she has studied in Australia and she has done her PhD from NIMHANS. But more importantly, her academy, Raising Family Academy, is teaching a lot of young private practitioners on how to think beyond therapy and how to think like a business person, like a CEO, so that you can run your private practice. I had recently the opportunity to be part of one of her sessions where she was talking about the right way to market yourself, the right way to get referrals, and how to promote yourself on LinkedIn, how to price. That was one part of her thing. But she talks about how to set up your private practice the right way, legally, ethically, therapeutically, and how to grow your practice in the right way as well. So I really loved her. It was not theory at all. It was all rooted in practicality and so amazing. So if you want to check out Raising Family Academy, she also has Partners for Parents that she and Sri Lekha together run along with Raising Family Academy, which is the counseling side of things. But this is the one that it's very close to our heart. She also helps us with Zensible, but we will come to that later. And hopefully some of you will know Aloona. A lot of you would have heard of Aloona. Aloona is the co-founder of what is now called as Mind Bun, but previously it was called as Llama. I loved that name, but I can see how there was a conflict of interest between the llama with aim and the llama, the animal. What Aloona and her founder does is they make sure clients are matched to the right therapist based on their symptoms. A lot of times people are reluctant to go into therapy, and if they end up with the mismatch in therapist, I wouldn't call them wrong therapist, but therapist matching to the client and their symptoms is very, very important. And if there is a mismatch, one, they get a bad feeling and they give up on therapy altogether. Therefore, the first few sessions are really, really crucial. And that's what Aloona is trying to do as part of MindBun, is to ensure she matches the right client with the right therapist, ensure that the process of matching therapy is smoother, and also it is a good fit for both of them, that make sure that progress is achieved for the clients. So that's what Aloona does. And I love her posts and how she talks about therapy on LinkedIn. It's so relatable. It's so rooted in ground realities as service users or clients. So I'm really glad to have both of them talking about the important aspect of how you as therapist have to price your practice right. And we will go into conversation with that. We will pause in between for any questions from you. So after about 3 or 4 questions to each of them, we'll pause, take your questions as well, and then we will continue from there on. Once the panel is complete, we will walk through the pricing calculator as well, which you will get. Shreya will be messaging your individual calculator on your WhatsApp, which you can go ahead while we are doing it. You can also start doing that together. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. But before we go into pricing, Dr. Meghna, talk us a little bit about how your walk into private practice has been. What has your, I know it's been a long time since you moved. Yeah, it doesn't look like a long time, but yeah, tell us a little bit about how that started and what you learned by doing along the way.
Okay, So, hi everyone. Actually, I just ventured into private practice just a few years back. It's been what, 4 years, 5 years now? It's not been that long. And the biggest propeller was I got fired from my job. It was a soul sucking, shitty job, as jobs in psychology usually are. And I was so pissed. That I was like, never am I going to be. I know it sounds very dramatic, like a Hindi movie climax. I'll never be an employee again, and that's true. Actually, that's exactly what happened. And wow, I'm so glad that I started private practice. Of course, initially there was nobody to guide me. I've done my PhD from Nimhans. Of course, I had my Nimhans alumni group for referrals. But otherwise it was very tough, and I literally figured everything out on my own: how to market myself, how to make my voice, myself, more visible, how to build a caseload that does not burn me out, but also, you know, how to basically build a caseload in a very sustainable, in a very ethical way, which is, commensurate with what I bring to the table. So not kind of operating from a scarcity mindset. I think I would like to talk about that here. The biggest change that I had to make was moving from a scarcity to an abundance mindset. And I think we all know, in the field of psychology, in the field of mental health, that is the one thing that is sold to us. That is the We are constantly guilted for charging. Constantly we are told, "Oh, how can you charge this much?" And I think it's ridiculous, because when we train therapists in our business coaching program, 100% of the therapists that we train come to us with the scarcity mindset. 100%. And what does the scarcity mindset tell them? To make therapy accessible is your job. If you don't if you price very highly, then nobody will be able to afford therapy. You can't charge this much, it's unethical. Things like that people believe, and it's complete bull crap. I it's really wrong. So I think that is one thing I myself overcame gradually, because my scarcity mindset was also a gift from my childhood. So it was double whammy for me. So I really had to work hard on overcoming that. But I did. And yeah, and that's how it all started, actually.
That's amazing. And I was reading a LinkedIn post today morning. I will share that LinkedIn post with all of you later. But it's not just in India, even
Yeah.
outside India,
Yeah.
people feel that guilt about charging for therapy sessions. But then we have to think about our own sustainability, our own long run. We have to think about it as a long game. We will come back, loop back to that, but that's just a very, very good point that you nailed it right at the start. Thank you, Dr. Meghna. But Aloona, you come from a marketing background, and then you worked at Upraised before you started Mindbun. What led you to start Mindbun, and how does that tie into what we are talking about today?
Honestly, it was never a plan. Really, really struggled to find a therapist for myself. I went to so many of them. I would do one or two sessions and then I would drop off. It never really worked. And it was really excruciating. You go, you try a few sessions, then you open up all over again, and then you're like, oh, nothing is happening. And I was one of those people who very, very loudly said, therapy is bullshit, therapy doesn't work, please don't go to therapy. I told all my friends I didn't want to go to therapy. Then I met my therapist, and it really changed my life. The 2 years with her really transformed my life, my relationships, my career, every single aspect of my life. And I think I would often ask her, why are you charging me this? Like, I think at that time she was charging me some 1,200, 1,300 rupees. And I was like, I can pay more. It almost felt criminal to pay her that amount. I was earning well. I was in a startup. I was like, why am I paying you this money? And also, she was not online. She had 15 years of experience. She was incredible, very, very good at what she did. But she was not online. She didn't have a website. She was not on Instagram. She was not. No, if you try to find her,
How
you
did you find
cannot.
her then?
One of my friends, she had gone to her and she said, just book a session. She booked a session forcefully for me and she said, go. So I went. But so then it started because I made a website for her. I said, what I'll do is I will make a website for you so that people are able to find. And we were kind of closing our work by then. It had been 2 years. So I made a website for her. I floated it in a few WhatsApp groups. Within a weekend, we got like 200 leads. And then I was like, okay, what's happening? I was really taken aback. My co founder also used to go to the same therapist because I had then referred him. And then together we sort of spoke to a lot of users. We understood that this is really a big pain point that all of them seem to be struggling with. And yeah, from there it started, and we are where we are today. So we are trying to solve two things, as Veda also mentioned. First is quality. There are a lot of people in the market that can pay, but how do they find therapists that really work for them, that have the right training, right supervision, they are in therapy, they're running an ethical practice? And the second is the matching bit, and that's the focus. It's been going well so far, thankfully. And I'm from a business background. I have no shame in saying I want to make money, and I really want the therapist.
Shrikha and I, Shrikha is my co-founder. We keep saying that out loud to all the therapists, and the first reaction is like, you're allowed to say that? Like, yes, honey, you're allowed to say that.
I think the first question we started with, me and my co-founder, how much money do you want to make out of
Yes,
this? And then
yes.
everything else.
That is the
followed
mindset
from
of a
there.
business owner.
And I think that's normal in the tech world. So we didn't even struggle doing that. We just did it because it's very, very normal for us to do it. And I also want the therapist working with Mindbun to make money. So we are priced in a way, and I'm going to talk more about that. But yes.
So we want to start because you're all here, and I'm sure you are here for the same reason. So we will start with a small thing. I want you all to say it after me. It's okay for therapists to ask for session fee. Come on, say it with me. I am worth it. I need to sustain myself. I need money. There you go. Okay, with that, Meghna, I wanted to ask you one thing. We all think of therapy as the time that therapist spends with the client, but that's not the only thing that they are doing, right? Tell us about, from your practice and also from what you have seen from other therapists, what is actually involved in determining the value of therapy and putting a number to it.
That's a very important question that, again, we find therapists, especially early career therapists, don't give a thought to. They just look at how much their peers charge and they're like, I'll charge this much. But how much your session fee is should be commensurate with not just your skills and experience and your professional degree, but also many other factors. So your personal and professional development is a big chunk. Your own supervision, your own therapy, your own continuous professional development, or we call it CPD, right? You have to constantly invest in that to be an effective therapist. You need to be able to take breaks guilt free, because unless you take breaks, you will not have a regulated nervous system. Unless you have a regulated nervous system, you will not be able to do good therapy. So the cost of a session should incorporate the fact that you should be able to have a full caseload. You should be able to offer, after having a full caseload and meeting your monthly expenditure, you should be able to offer a few sliding scale slots per month. You should be able to put in some time for some activities, like, for example, if you want to work with some NGOs or schools, or be the advisory for some organizations, depending on your skills and experience, of course. All of that has to be factored in, along with the personal and professional development that I'm talking about, along with breaks. Non-therapy days are very important for your work. If you jam all 6 days with therapy, you will not be an effective therapist. And of course, time with your family, your personal interests, the hobbies and the pursuits that you have. So your therapy fee should reflect all of that, right? It's not just how much my peers are charging, I'll charge that much and that's it. No, it can't be that. It has to be cognizant of all of these factors.
Yeah. So that's an interesting one. When we start off, most therapists, what they think is, what, let me just lower my session fee, and I'll start with a lower fee, and then eventually I will go ahead and increase it as I go. But Aloona, this is a question for you. Is that advisable that therapists get their edge in by lowering their therapy fee? Is that a good marketing strategy? Is that a good strategy for young therapists? And when should they not do that?
I think everybody knows by now that the answer is no, like a big no. But I'm also going to talk about why. Um, so I think Dr. Meghna made a very, very good point, which is therapy is a very different profession from all the other professions out there. I'm an MBA. The moment I got my degree, I went out in the world, I started earning. And I was allowed to spend all that money on fun, entertainment, my life generally. As therapists, that is not the only thing you spend on, as she said. You have to spend on your training, on your supervision, on your therapy. If your income does not allow you to do that, imagine your career is like a long marathon, right? Like 20 years, 25 years. You're breaking your legs right at the start. You're saying, I will never be able to get the depth needed to charge higher rates in the long term. So you're really setting up yourself for failure in the long run. That's the first point. But then a lot of you might say, dude, like I really need to pay rent now. You're talking all this about long term. I am not worried about long term right now. I'm just starting out. I need money. But I think even in the short term, it's a big mistake. And your pricing is not just a number, it signals your worth to the world at large. There are a lot of people in India that can pay. We are always told the story of Indians cannot afford therapy. There are 10 lakh people in India that make more than 50 lakh rupees per annum. Do you think they really cannot afford that money? They have money. They're spending more money on an iPhone or on entertainment, to be honest, or a weekend. One movie. Popcorn costs. You know how much popcorn costs? So I just saw a post. Popcorn costs like some 950, 1,000.
Yeah.
$1,000 you're paying for popcorn, but so there are a lot of people that can pay. When you charge yourself too low in the beginning, that person will not come to you, because that person, you're also signaling that I'm not competent enough to work with you.
Can I add something here? It's not only that person will not come to you. Even if they come to you, they are the people who will haggle,
Yes.
who will
Always.
bargain, negotiate, who will have
The most.
no-shows and cancellations, because, as Aloona said, this is the worth that you're signaling to the world, and that is what, if that's the energy you're sending out in the world, that's what you'll get back. So if you tell the world, this is who I am and this is what I'm worth, that is how you will be treated. So there will be many more no-shows and cancellations and people haggling about your fee if you set a lower session fee.
You're implicitly setting like a power dynamic right from the start, even in the therapy relationship. So you're not getting the right clients, you're getting the wrong type of clients. Yeah. And then that goes in the room. Like if you're not able to make rent, if you're not happy, if you're always distressed, then you're also not putting client care first. That affects the relationship in subtle ways, in softer ways, that affects the relationship. But I think what she said was really profound. She said, it was a double whammy for me. It comes from my childhood and all the conditioning around me. So even after this talk, if you feel that when you go back and you look at your website or wherever your pricing is mentioned and you're struggling to increase it even just a little bit, then probably you need to take it back to your own therapy. You need to take it back into your own supervision. And that is why those support structures are so, so important. And hence you need the money to invest in those support structures. So
and sign up for a therapist to see your business coaching program. I'm allowed to
You are
right?
yes,
I marketed you, so you are allowed to market, because
she's right.
and it's not just marketing, Meghna. That program had so much information. I want everybody. Students are not taught in college how to have a business mindset. There are some colleges who are changing that. Christ University, they are making an active thing about how to make people, especially their students, understand the business side of things as well, not just the therapy side. So things are changing, but you should definitely promote that, because that is so good. And I'll tell you from my example, right? This is not the first event I have conducted. The first event I conducted, I was going to keep it for free because I wanted people to come together. And somebody said, no, don't keep it for free, give it an amount. So I had 100 rupees. Okay, that was the amount. And it was charged only so that people will turn up once they book. I had 50% no-shows even after they paid the money, because they were like, nahi jana yaar, 100 rupees, it's okay, I will leave it. So slowly I increased. For this one, I had 10% drop off. Yes, there are people, about 15 people here, but these people I know will come. and it helped me plan the event much better. It's the same way for you as well. Anyways, I'm not here to give you gyan, I'm just giving you an example.
You should give them.
Uh, both of you talked about supervision and professional development. The thing is, a lot of therapists think supervision and professional development is required only at the early stage of their career, and some even in the early stages don't. You posted about it, that how people don't go for professional development, even young therapists, right? So why are they not going? Is it because it's not available, or is it because it is too costly? If I am taking let's say $1,000 and I'm seeing 20 clients, how much should I be spending on supervision and professional development, do you think, Dr.
um, around anything between 10 and 20% of your annual gross income should be set aside for your own therapy, your own supervision, and your own training, continuing training. So if you, for example, earn 1.2 lakhs per month, about 15% of that would be, I have no idea.
15,000.
But huh?
Somewhere around 15K? No, I think you better than me.
18K.
Like,
18K. 18K. And so if you would set aside 6K for therapy every month, 6K for supervision every month, and 6K for your training program. So you would be setting aside that money, and then at the end of the, so therapy and supervision you're spending every month. But if you're saving 6K every month for your training, then once a year you can invest in a very high level, high ticket, good quality training program. So this is the approx math: 15 to 20%, whether you're an early or mid or a senior level therapist. This is a field where you will obviously need to keep training, otherwise you'll become obsolete. That's the honest truth. Unless you keep, once you've done your masters, I'm fine, I'm set. No, you're not. I'm a PhD, I'm a postdoc, and still I need to keep spending on my own therapy, my own supervision, and of course my own training. Otherwise, I will become obsolete. Nobody will come to me.
And I just want to share a piece of data that breaks my heart, to be honest. People that apply to us, 99% of them are not in therapy or supervision, or they've not trained after their masters. And this
What
is
are they doing in life?
there's some Udemy courses, some
Udemy courses.
So I often see Udemy courses, Coursera courses, but after their masters, they're not training at all. They're not, and they're stuck at that 300 rupees, 400 rupees, 500 rupees ka price point in the private practice. Yes, there are a lot of
And
people.
another thing is, I'll just add to that, you obviously also need to increase your session fee annually. You need to add that annual fee revision clause in your informed consent form. And you need to absolutely, because obviously you also are a human being who is affected by inflation and price rise, and you are paying rent and whatever it is, right? So why aren't you accounting for that? So inform your clients 3 to 4 months in advance and have that conversation, and of course like write it in your informed consent form to begin with.
And if you're worried you're not going to get clients, we started at 3,500.
Yeah.
For roughly 8 to 9 months, we didn't have any slab below 3,500.
Right.
We still grew at 35% month on month without spending anything on marketing, just word of mouth and referrals and
Yeah.
that. So there is a market that exists.
There is a market.
There are people who are willing to pay. I think she can also talk about it. She's also seeing clients come in and pour in.
So I know that Dr. Meghna, she last week she was completely busy with her own training that she attended, and she was looking for her own supervisor as well. So it's not just speak. I know for a fact that that is happening. So no matter at what level, you have to spend that 15 to 20% set aside for supervision and this thing. So you said that you started at 3,500, Aloona, but does it have to change based on which area they are operating from? Like in Bangalore, it's 3,500. Maybe in Jamshedpur, it cannot be 3,500. So do therapists have to look at what other therapists are charging in their area, or what other therapists are charging in their own specialization? What kind of non-therapeutic things they need to take into consideration for that pricing?
I think this is a mistake that not just therapists but even businesses make. You start by looking at competition instead of starting by saying, who is my user? Every single time I talk to therapists, and I'll say, what is your audience? They'll say, I work with adults in the age group of 18 to 60. That is not an audience, that is everybody. In like you're literally talking to everyone on planet Earth. You're giving away all our T2CO
No, no, no. The TTCU has actual action items, homework.
Yeah, all the information in them. That is true. Yeah. But so I think that is what you need to start with. If you go and look at a profile, you spend 2 seconds, you will understand she's working with couples. Even if you don't take anything away from her profile, you will understand that. That is the type of clarity you really need. What type of adults are you working with? Tier 1 or tier 2 students or working professionals? If it is students, is it Indian students, is it NRI students? Ask yourself those questions and then arrive at your audience accordingly. I will clarify with another example. For example, mine one, our audience is people in the age group of 28 to 40, earning over 30 lakh per annum, primarily in tier 1 cities, very comfortable with online therapy. We don't deal with very severe clinical cases. If I go and then start comparing myself to another platform that only caters to Gen Z, and then I go and I slash my price by half, that will be a stupid thing to do. Like, I will decimate my business overnight. Same goes for you. If you don't know your audience, who are you comparing to? There is therapy starting from 300 to 10,000 rupees. Who is your competition? How do you even understand what that competition is first? So, first get clarity on your audience. That will help you understand who is competition for you. And that will also give you like a benchmark or a range. I think a better way to think about it, this is my audience. How much can they pay? Can they afford my rates? At that rates, can my therapy be sustainable? Which is what she talked about. Like, you should have money left over to live your life and invest in professional development. If that's happening, then that's great. And please, what she said, don't look at four friends and then they say they are charging 500, so I should also charge 500. I think the online offline debate, definitely tier 2, the pricing capacity or the willingness to pay will be lower, but it depends whether you're online, whether you're
But
offline.
where is your audience coming from?
Coming
Even
from?
if you're in a tier
Yeah.
2, if you're seeing NRI clients, you will charge them
Yes.
more, right?
Yes.
So, or if you're seeing clients online who belong to
Yes.
metros, then you charge more.
So your audience, not where you are situated.
Correct.
So that is how you have to look at it.
Yeah, that's good. Sliding scale.
Yes.
Yes, slabs. You want to talk about slabs, Meghna?
At this point of time in my therapy, even though my price is pretty constant, like I currently charge 5,000 bucks per session, still I find in my practice, because there are some old clients, there are some clients I'm grandfathering, there are some sliding scale clients, there are some clients who have been with me for a few years and I have not revised their rates for some reasons. So literally in my practice right now, and then I have NRI clients who I charge in dollars, for example, or euros, or some Middle Eastern clients that I charge in real. So I have clients who pay me from around 1,000 bucks per session, which is my sliding scale charge, to almost 10,000 bucks per session, which is the highest slab rate that I have. So I have all of these, and I make it according to where is the client coming from, what is their requirement, how long have they been with me, if they're a new client, if they're a returning client, if they're, so it has to be like that. It can't be I will charge only 3,000. It can't be like blind to the realities of my client, right? I have to be very cognizant of where my client is coming from, as Aloona said. So at this time, as I said, that is the wide range of the therapy fee that I have for my clients.
And as a platform, also, we have two slabs. We have 3,500. Now we've introduced 2,500. 70% Indians opt for the highest slab,
Yeah,
which is very surprising.
which
mean,
is not surprising at all.
for them. Like, you look at the faces,
Which is
but
not
they do.
surprising at all,
But it was
because what we have seen also, Sri Lekha and I, as business owners, what we've seen is, if you price it lower, as we were talking, that's how we started talking, right, today. If you price it lower, you are underselling yourself. You are putting out your value in the world. Obviously, it has to be commensurate with your confidence, your skill, your experience, all of that, obviously. But because we have that scarcity mindset, we always undercharge. And if you undercharge, and if you obviously, then if you're undercharging, then you're trying to fill in your week, you're trying to fill in your caseload, you absolutely will end up doing unethical and non-sustainable therapy. Unethical, I don't mean in that sense. Unethical, I mean unethical to you because you will not be able to sustain. Based on the amount paid, I don't vary the interventions. The amount paid is different based on how long the client has been with me. If it's an old client, or if it's a student, or if it's a sliding scale client, then the charges are less. If it's an NRI client, if it's a new client, then the charges are more. So it's not, my interventions would be the same. I would not vary the quality of therapy just because you're paying less versus more. But what happens is, it is the client's paying capacity and how recent the client is. So over the last 5 years or 4 years since I've entered my private practice, I've obviously consistently increased my fee. As I said, now my fee is 5,000. I think I started with 2,500, 2,000 or 2,500, 2,500. I think I started with 5 years back. How old I was? Sorry. I will give you some time to revise that question. How old were you? It was after my. It was after my postdoc. It was after my postdoc. It was right after my postdoc. Right now in my practice, so my early career therapists, we're also training at Raising Family Academy. We're training. We have a 6-month flagship program for couples therapy training. All the early career therapists that I train, their couple therapy sessions are 1.5 hours, usually between 75 minutes to 90 minutes. Okay. I also used to have around 75-minute sessions for couples. Now, with more experience, what I've realized is I'm able to start and finish comfortably even a couple therapy session in 1 hour. And now at this stage, I've started prorating. So I have this clause in my informed consent form that if the session exceeds by 15 minutes, right, I will charge you commensurate with it. The charge will be prorated. If it extends to 1.5 hours, it'll be prorated. Understood? So if, for example, you're charging 1,000, so say 2,000 bucks, say 4,000 bucks per hour. So if the charge is 4,000, yes, 4,000 rupees exactly. 15 minutes, it'll be 5,000. Exactly. Like that. So now I prorate, but I understand that early career therapists don't have that kind of confidence to prorate. I would suggest start the prorating system after you have sufficient experience and you're confident that in this area, say couples therapy or trauma informed therapy, or you're doing EDMR or whatever modality that you're super skilled and confident in. For those clients, maybe you can start prorating. What was the first question that you asked? This There was two parts to this question. I forgot. Not that. So you asked me if the it's 2,000 bucks for an hour. So if I charge more for, so all my sessions right now are 1 hour. I've never charged more previously for extending the time. Over the last couple of years, I've started prorating, whether it's individual therapy, whether it's couple therapy. In couples therapy, so that's a very couple therapy specific question, so I'll answer it like that. I'll answer what I do in my practice, and I'll answer what I do in my business. My business is the partner facing vertical is called Partners to Parents. We've just hired a couples therapist. We're hiring one more right now. And what she does is, she will take around 75 to 90-minute sessions, and for those 90 minutes the charge is standard is 3,000 bucks. So what we do, our format for couple therapy in my private practice as well as in my organization, is we take first session, which is joint. That's session number 1. Then that is the session we explain to the clients that this is how couple therapy works, right? So session number 2 and session number 3 are individual with each client, with each partner separately. So that counts for 2 sessions. That's 1 hour each. Session number 4 onwards, we again, by the time all the assessments are done as well. right? Session number 4 onwards, we get them together, and from then on, all the sessions are joint. This is how I work, and this is how my therapist works in my organization. So we don't do 3 hours is not something I recommend. It's very exhausting, and it's not at all recommended, even in individual therapy, to go beyond 1.5 hours.
It's not so fun. Like, I think it varies a lot on your audience, as I said. Everybody in my office knew I was in therapy for the longest time. I have been talking about it publicly forever. A lot of my friends also talk about it publicly. If you see Bangalore, Delhi metros, it's opening up. I think stand-up comedians are a very good,
I agree.
very good indicator of where the culture is shifting. If you look at the comedy scene in India, last 6 months, almost everybody has done a piece on therapy. Everybody is talking about therapy. They're doing shows on
The
therapy.
shows that what they talk about is about therapy. I went to my therapist said that, and stuff like that. So that becomes their material, so it's definitely a shift in how people openly talk about it. A lot of pop culture personality.
I think what you're bringing up is super important, and I feel for therapists it's a trap, and I'll explain why. This question that you're asking is very legit. But if you pose this to a therapist, they will assume that it is their job to convince somebody to come to therapy. It is not the therapist's job to convince somebody who's coming to them for an intake or a discovery call that, oh, you should come for therapy because therapy will be very transformative. It will change your life. Of course, it will help you. It's not our job to convince the general population that you should come for therapy. If somebody is not convinced, they will not be convinced, irrespective of whether you charge 1,000 or 5,000 or 10,000 per session. It's not our job to convince them. If somebody is coming with that mindset, why should I pay this much? You can always direct them to Nimhans. It's a government hospital where treatment is 100% free. You don't have to convince them that you should come for therapy and pay this much. That's not your job.
Right. So we touched upon a lot of things. I want to talk about how you approach your client and all of that in just a bit. But what I want to, the initial price, before we move out from the concept of initial price, you spoke about online and offline therapy being differently charged. When you consider offline therapy, what are the things that you need to consider, that you need to make, or the items or the variables that you need to bring into the pricing of a in-person session?
Before I actually answer that, I want to answer, why do offline therapy, why even move to an offline setup? And I feel this is also a decision that is often driven by peer pressure, and everybody is doing offline. Let me also do offline. There's a lot of invisible pressure around doing offline therapy as well. So I think ask yourself a few questions before you even arrive at that decision. Is it going to get you a new set of clients? Is it going to get you a different type of clients? Maybe you want to do more trauma focused work, which you're not able to do online, and now you feel offline will help. Or maybe the third question is, will your clients get better outcomes? So they will stay with you longer, they will have better word of mouth, whatever. If the answer to all these three is no for your audience, which we spoke about, why even do offline? If it is yes, then think about, okay, offline. And again, it's the same thing. It is, whatever is coming to your bank is not your income. You have to subtract your expenses from it. What is the additional income you will get? So you take all of this, you do an estimate of, am I going to get new clients? Maybe now I'm moving into somatic work, or I'm doing couples work, and people are more likely to pay for that. Uh, Clients will not automatically pay more just because you're doing offline. Clients will pay more because you are giving them a different outcome or a better outcome. So is that translating to a better outcome? Are you going to get a different income or more clients? If that is happening, factor that in. Okay, this is the increased income I'm getting. And then there are expenses to look at. Expenses, of course, there are physical expenses, concrete expenses that you can think about, which is setting up the office. If you're lucky enough, you have a house, you just have to set it up there. That's great. And if it's in a good location, you have privacy if all of that is there. Otherwise, you might have to rent it, factor in your commute time cost. But I think there are a lot of invisible costs. Those costs are your own emotional labor going into an offline practice. Is it emotionally more demanding for you? Factor that in. Will you be doing less sessions because now you are offline? Because maybe sessions stretch a little longer. You are still not senior enough to draw strict boundaries, end them on time. Factor all of that in as well as expenses, and then finally see if that equation is making sense. Don't do it just because everybody around you is doing it. That's never a good reason to do anything. Look at this equation and see if that makes sense for you. um, and ultimately I would want to say, like, this is my experience again, and I will share some data. 98% people that come to us, of course urban demographic, they are okay with online. Very few people that ask for offline. The other thing that I've seen is online clients stick longer and they're more engaged. So if somebody is coming to you every week, they will also see better results and they are likely to stick longer. Offline sessions, life happens. You taking 3 hour out every week in Bangalore with your job is impossible for most people. So they might come less frequently, so they will drop off more. So don't assume that offline will automatically sort of catapult your practice and lead to growth. That does not happen. Think about what your audience is. In some cases, if it is very important for the type of work you do the math. If it makes sense, then of course invest in it. Use Veda's calculator. I think she has all of this factored in. Yeah.
So one thing that I really want to stress upon, and this is from experience, one of my when I was doing my internship, there was they were doing offline therapy, right? They would never have that therapist only in the therapy room in offline. If you are doing it at home, that protects you, but sometimes some clients can get angry and you may feel not secure being with them when they show their anger. So when you're doing in-person sessions, you also need to have somebody else available where you're doing the session, just to make sure you're feeling safe. If you're constantly not feeling safe, then you're not going to give your everything to the client. So that is something that people don't factor in.
I just have one point. As a client, also, and I'm going to share a little bit about my own self. I have complex PTSD. For me, doing offline therapy is extremely hard. I feel so exposed sitting across someone physically. Doing it online was actually easier. And now I'm developing that comfort and that safety needed to go offline. So that safety question is there for the therapist as well as for the client.
For the client.
Just
And it depends on the client population also that you're working with. If you're working with, say, a lot of cluster B PDs, the question of safety that Veda was talking about, if you're working with a population which has frequent escalations, if you're working with, say, adolescents or children, you can't possibly work only, online with children and adolescents. Because when I started, I was working a lot with children and adolescents, and I found it very difficult to. So I stopped refusing online work with them, and I would only work with them online. Sorry, offline, right? But if you're working with, say, cluster B PDs, and so you have to think about, you have to calculate, all of that goes in the calculation as well, of your safety, your energy, your time, the space, if you're renting it out, how much, and all of that. So yes, some inquiries do come in, and what I've noticed is that for most of my clients coming offline, I have an offline space in, converted, one of my bedrooms is converted in my therapy space, but I don't deal with the kind of population that will make me feel, or my family for that matter, unsafe. But what I've seen is a lot of the offline clients coming to me, they always, because this is Bangalore, they always opt for a hybrid mode. No client is 100% offline. Even if they take some sessions offline, they will take some sessions online, and that's how they kind of navigate, because this being Bangalore.
So you have different pricing for online and
No,
offline?
for the same client, I will charge the same. I don't have different pricing. Otherwise, also for offline and
No.
online.
same for us. We don't have different pricing. We charge the same for online and offline.
Okay. Noted.
I think one more thing that I want to add here is please be shameless and ask for help.
Mhm.
So if you're finding it very hard to do these calculations, how many more clients will I get? What will be the experience? Be shameless, reach out to people who have done the same thing in your area and ask for help. Even if you don't know them, DM them, cold DM them. I think there is a lot of resistance in just doing that. And we all need to learn that a little more.
We are here.
I mean,
Seriously, reach out.
yeah, and we say to our clients that, hey, reach out
We
for
have
help,
been
right?
yeah.
So we have to take the same advice sometimes and reach out for help. So
Yeah.
absolutely, very
When I
very good
started,
point.
I just DM'd random people in my network, and they helped a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of people actually go out of the way to help you, and try that.
Yeah. So, since we are in the topic of safety and going to our clients and everything, I have a question. When you said that you have to revise your fee annually, right? You have an existing client. Sometimes you want to revise the fee for them as well. If they come back and push back, right, saying I can't pay this, how do you approach that? Because this ties into what Prabhu asked as well. We are not supposed to talk about or convince clients to come to therapy. We are not supposed to talk about therapy even in online spaces. When we post, you mentioned one thing to the T2CEO cohort is don't post about therapy, post about other things, right? That's because you should not be seen as talking only about therapy. How do you balance that, your therapeutic relationship and your clients and the business aspect of raising money? The first time when they come in, that's different, but once you raise the money, how do you approach that conversation with your clients?
So, as I said, this is something that is inbuilt in my informed consent form, the annual revision fee. And I always am obviously mindful of the circumstances of the client. So, recently, I sent a message to all my clients because, Jan was coming up, and I said that this is sometime in October. And I said that the time for the annual revision is coming up, and we will, I'll be raising your fee. So, I increased. For some clients, I increased it by 500 rupees, and for some clients, I increased it to 1000 by 1000 rupees. But there are a few clients I did not have this conversation with, because I know those clients, they've had a change in their life circumstance. One of those clients is trying to file for divorce from a husband. One of the clients has lost his job. One of the clients is stuck in a place in life where he's not at all, there's a lot of financial instability for him right now. So these are the few clients I did not approach, because it's obvious that I will not. I mean, I'm a therapist at the end of the day, also, right? So I have to be also cognizant. So I have never actually ever received a pushback from my existing clients, because the conversation that I have with them is all about, for me to be able to offer you continuing high quality care, for me to be able to invest in my own trainings. I'm very open about this. This is the annual free revision that we are. If you have any concerns, let me know. So none of my clients have pushed back about this, ever, right? In fact,
This has been my experience also.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah.
So we also did it for a large number of clients.
Yeah.
We were also not smart enough, so we didn't have it in our consent form
Yeah.
at the start.
You can add it now.
We have. But even then, nobody pushed back.
Yeah.
Except for the few where we knew and we did not ask them for revisions.
Yeah.
Actually, nobody pushed back.
Yeah, so then I have a follow up for you. We spoke about sliding scale with the Shweta asked for. Um, when do you decide who to give sliding scale to, and do you track any analytics about how much in the sliding scale levels where you are? Is there a normal, I mean, all therapists have seen the bell curve, we have to do the bell curve, so do you track it like that, regarding how many people are on the lower side, how many people are on the higher side? What sort of information do you track, and what sort of information? Mindfulness has people who can do the numbers, numbers, but therapists, when they are in private practice, how can they easily track that?
I think the first question, the fundamental question which we've been talking about for a long time is your income should be sustainable to invest in your life and your professional development. Once you have reached that sustainable income is when you start thinking about sliding scale, not before that. You don't start with sliding scale, you start when you have a comfortable income. Say, I'm just making numbers up and my math is bad, so help
That's
me
okay.
if needed.
That's okay.
But say that income is 80,000 and you have 20 clients. So you are currently charging 1,000 rupees. Now you will have to do some back of the envelope math. If I give it to two people with 18 clients, you should be able to make the same money. If you do it for five people with 15 clients, you should be able to make the same amount of money. So then you need to charge people somewhere around 1300, 1333, whatever. So if you're comfortable charging that amount, and you know your clients will be comfortable paying that amount, you decide the sliding scale percentage on the basis of that. And keep it flexible, because there might be people, depending on their life circumstance, that can only pay 500. There might be people that can pay 1,000. You don't know. There might be people who've just lost their job, they can't pay that much. You should try to make your income from the regular slots, not from the sliding scale slots. That way you have flexibility, and then decide what is the percentage of your caseload that you want to give to sliding scale. Please be very cognizant, write that number down, don't keep changing it. A lot of people, like, there's just guilt comes in, and then you keep increasing the sliding scale slots. Instead of that, have a very clear boundary, say this is the percentage of my caseload that is going to be on sliding scale, that's it. uh, in the 50 people that I have worked with, I've seen the number to be somewhere between 10 to 20% for most. It may vary, but for most of the people that I work with, I've seen that to be 10 to 20%. Once you've done that, I think Dr. Meghna did touch upon this, who to give the sliding scale to. In my experience, the people who have the most money haggle the most.
Yes.
The most.
Yes,
Like,
they do. Yes, they do.
I have seen NRI clients who are making 300K, haggle, lie about their location, be like, oh, how can you charge me NRI rates? People who actually cannot afford it hardly haggle that much. And what ends up happening is people who can afford it are the ones that end up getting the sliding scale slots. So the second factor is, who should you give it to? And I think in your intake form, you should have questions like, what is your name? Where do you work? What do you do? Do a quick LinkedIn search, get some estimate of their income, try and understand if they can afford your current rates or not before you commit to a sliding scale slot. And always, always have a clause saying this is time bound. We will revisit the sliding scale, say, in 3 months. What that allows you to do is, if the client circumstance changes, then you can go ahead, go back and revisit the sliding scale slot. If you don't do that, it also builds a little resentment in the long term, because the client is now able to pay, you're still charging like a very, very low rate. So when you go into that room, I think that also affects the therapeutic relationship. So I would summarize, and I would say, first, what is the percentage? You should be very, very clear on that number. And the second thing you should be very, very clear about is, who is it that you're giving the sliding scale slot to? And if you're still feeling guilty after all of this, because some clients come,
Yeah.
and also build a referral list. Because some clients will come and it'll break your heart. You wouldn't want to send them away. I like, and it just, like, they really need help. I can help. Have a referral list so that you know that they are in good hands. Sometimes you can just connect them on WhatsApp saying, okay, this person has slots, why don't you go to them, or refer them to good places. So that way your guilt is also taken care of, and you are also very clear about what you can do and what you can't do.
That's the referral thing is a very, very good point. If you don't think you will be able to take them at that cost, refer them out to somebody who's younger. So it also builds your reputation, your network, your connectivity. That's why meetups like these are important. You obviously will have people from your own college and where you went for internship, but also get together with them, build that connectivity. Sometimes, not sometimes, most times, therapy practice can be very isolating because you cannot talk about it, you cannot do that. So interacting with other people in settings like these can really, really help, both asking for help and also referring out. So that is a really
I
good
think
point.
everybody is here because they want to help people. The most SOS calls that I've gotten in the last year is, this client can only pay 500 rupees. What do I do? So people that work in my team, that's what really, really bothers them. And so having this is very important for you to be able to actually maintain that boundary.
10% of my time goes in
Just
connecting
finding
people
and
to
connecting.
connecting clients, the leads that I keep getting. Literally, I'm doing this for free, but what to do? 10% of my time goes in connecting them to the right therapist. What to do? This is part of our job. And a lot of people don't do it. I know that. But I like to do it because it's nice. Because they're on a sliding scale and these are my real actual charges. Say it out loud. Say it. Stand in front of the mirror and say it 5 times out loud. So that's not for them to decide. That's for you to decide. You have to decide your fee. They can't decide their fee and tell you how much to charge them. You're the therapist here, not them.
And I think sometimes you also have to be okay with people walking away.
Yeah. I think
People
that
will
is
walk
the
away.
biggest insecurity that therapists have. Or if I lose the client, so
Let them go.
So, therefore, if you don't lose the client and you keep taking on that these kind of clients, you will have a lot of resentment inside of you. You will. Do you think you can show up for them in the way that you show up for other clients who you feel are giving you your worth? You can't. It's not possible. So why would you want to put yourself in that kind of situation? It's not worth it. Let them go or connect them to somebody else if you know their session charges are less.
I have one follow up question. Either both of you can answer. In other countries, there is mental health insurance coverage. They have coverage for therapy sessions, and they don't pay out of pocket. They do insurance that comes with their own set of problems with reclaiming the insurance money and everything. But do you think the Indian mental health system can benefit from solid, clear insurance coverage that goes not just for mental illnesses but also for therapy where they can claim it through insurance? Will therapists and clients gain from insurance coverage, do you think?
Go ahead. I think you wrote about it recently. I love that post.
Yeah, so I think every choice is a trade off.
Yeah.
It has its positives and it has its negatives. The positive, clearly, demand might explode. More people might be willing to try therapy. More people might feel, oh, this is a legitimate thing that everybody around me is doing. It's a healthcare concern. Let me try it. But the con, I think, is, and we are already seeing this happen in the UK, in the US at large scale, is that insurance companies push for short term therapy. 8 sessions, 12 sessions, 16 sessions. They sponsor a lot of research to say this is the only type of therapy that works. And so there is a lot of push also to do this. A lot of admin work for therapists increases because now you have to do so much
Form
writing and
filling and
noting and
writing.
form
Yeah.
filling and all of that. A lot of your time will start going there as well. So I think that is definitely a con of it. There is also a push to overdiagnose. Insurance companies typically at the start, like all startups, right? Like Uber, Ola, they started with a very, I mean, everything was cheap, but as the company scale, they also need to make money. And then there is a push for overdiagnosis as well. So you reach a situation where you need to diagnose them so that they get the insurance benefit. So it can get tricky.
That's why, can I just answer the second, like another perspective to your question is, that is why we encourage our therapists in the business coaching program to create content, honestly, because these are therapists who are legit. They are counseling or clinical psychologists. If we have more legit, sensible voices online, hopefully it will drown out the cacophony, the noise. It will, hopefully. But why aren't legit people creating content? I think that is definitely one of the solutions, if not the only solution. I don't know why are we so scared of visibility. Whether it's LinkedIn, whether YouTube is very difficult, of course, I understand, but whether it's LinkedIn or whether it's Insta, why aren't more legit voices out there? Why? What are we scared of? So I think I honestly think, and this is literally part of our business coaching, there's one whole week devoted to visibility and putting yourself out there. Because I don't know, if ethical voices, if legit voices are not out there, who else takes up space? The coaches, healers. Um, Look at it. I would request you to look at it as an investment. Yeah, you will have to make that investment in yourself. Unfortunately, that is the only way forward. But I promise you, you will get it back. You will get it back. Invest very sensibly in what courses you want to invest in, upskilling and all that. Network with people, look for opportunities, and don't just, and this is to all the therapists out here and out in the world, don't just look at therapy room as your source of earning. You have to diversify your income. So if as a fresher you think therapy earnings will sustain you, I'm sorry to say they won't. Why aren't you tying up with NGOs? Why aren't you tying up with corporates? Why aren't you tying up with schools? Why aren't you hosting private workshops? One area, pick one area where you feel a little aligned with, a little confident in, and start developing that area, right? And that's how you That's how you think like a business owner, because you're smart about it. If you expect only one-on-one therapy to sustain you financially, it won't. So think about what all you can do. When I just say, when I started out, when I was fired from my job and I started my private practice, I remember the first thing that I did was I started showing up online. Of course, I had years of experience as a MPhil, as a PhD, as a postdoc. So I was absolutely, there was no imposter syndrome there, thankfully, right? So there was no doubt that I had about my own skill set or knowledge. Absolutely no doubt. So I started showing up online. And the second thing that I did, that I started just hosting a lot of events and workshops. So at that time, my postdoc was in parenting, and I had specialized in child and adolescent mental health for almost 10 years prior to that. And so I just started talking a lot about child development, screen time. I looked at Quora, I looked at Reddit, I looked at what are people struggling with. And I started talking about those topics. And in no time, I had multiple invites from schools, from organizations to just talk about these topics. And that's how I built my revenue base, because one-on-one therapy caseloads are still filling up. So think like a business owner, change your mindset and think, "Ki, Arey, I can't invest right now because I'm not earning that much." You're investing for the future. Why do we take insurance? For the same reason, right? You're thinking about the future, but you're taking action in the present. That's what you need to do.
The only thing I would add is when you are investing, Meghna touched on that. Be sure of which courses you are doing. Okay, there are so many courses, so many people. I'll give you certificate, this certificate, that certificate, 1 hour of practical training, and you will go talk to the people who have actually taken those courses and figure out whether they have practical uh, eh, information to give, right? So you ask the people, if you don't know of them, you ask them, hey, I can you give me some recommendations of people who have taken this already. I come from a tech background, so I recently went to a tech conference last Sunday without making all of this. Okay, the money was not the problem. The problem was the time I invested there. It was so bad. I was like, oh my God, my Sunday is gone. I could have just slept. It was seriously bad. And it was in a very, very good institution, IASC. They did not do the conference. The location was IASC, and I got hoodwinked by that. So, anyways, the point is, do your research before you invest, but definitely invest. It will pay you if you do the right courses. Okay, you had a question.
Okay. I would tell you what you would tell a client who would say the same thing to you. I would tell you, sit in with your guilt, let it talk to you. Once you let your guilt talk to you, you will understand where your guilt is coming from, what are the deep seated beliefs that you hold, that you carry, whether it's about power, whether it's about your time, your worth, whatever. It will probably take you back to your childhood. It will take you back to what scripts you grew up with. Come face to face with that. That is the real work. And that's the only thing that matters. You just being aware of where you're coming from is all you need to forge ahead. As we what we do with our clients, we need to do that with ourselves. Operate from a space of self-awareness and sit in with the hard, because unfortunately we have to face the hard with our clients and with ourselves. That's what I would say. Yes, you're right. It's not easy. We are confronted with these questions daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. Um, these are beautiful questions to confront. They will make you grow. Don't avoid them.
Yeah. Can I give a very business answer to this?
Please. Mine was a very therapist answer, please.
But this is a question we get from clients a lot. I think this has been my biggest struggle. Therapists also cancel, and then I have to pay when I cancel. How is this fair? And I've gotten a lot of pushback for this. And we've recently implemented something that I learned from my therapist. My therapist has given me 3 emergency codes for the entire year.
Oh.
You can have emergencies. You are an adult, you decide what is an emergency, and now you use it whenever you want to. For him also it's the same. He doesn't cancel more than thrice in a year. So for me as a client, it really feels very fair. You have emergencies in your life, I have emergencies in your life, and that sort of equalizes the entire situation for me. I also like the way he worded it, and he said, "You're an adult, you decide. You tell me it's an emergency, you use it." I'm like, sure, that makes sense. So that's what we are doing. It seems to be working well. Early days, but
That's a very good idea. I
that's
mean,
a
you can
beautiful
choose
idea.
your own cancellation, 3, 2,
Whatever the
5,
number,
whatever
yeah.
works for you, but it becomes then even keel for both of you, right?
And I've spoken to 50 therapists about this. Some of them have said zero. For me, also zero. For them, also zero, which is fair. There's a
That
window.
depends on your cancellation policy. If the policy, usually the standard policy is if you cancel 24 hours in advance, then that's fine. But if you cancel within the 24-hour window, then you will have to incur 50%, 100%, or whatever of the session fee. So different cancellation policies are different. But the standard is 24 hours and full, you have to pay in full. Like my therapist has this policy that if I cancel within 24 hours, I have to pay the full fee, the session amount.
So we are going to move to the actual calculation part of this thing. Dr. Meghna and Aloona, you have both given so much knowledge. I am is so happy. I hope everybody has that takeaway as well. While we are doing the actual calculation, also please chip in, because I think that will unearth a lot of questions for everybody also. But if you want to know more about how to build your business, then please join Dr. Meghna's Racing Family Academy program. It's amazing. If you want to get some practice and don't have to do all the admin work and make sure you are getting the right clients, please join as a therapist in Mindbun. Talk to Aloona. She talks about quality therapy and how it needs to be. And whether you are going for either one, if you are a therapist and if you are in private practice, obviously please try out Zensible. We will talk about that also in just a bit. But thank you so much. You have been amazing.